Welcome to the ChargePoint podcast, brought to you by FlexiCharge, your gateway to the future of EV charging. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of EV infrastructure, offering insights and perspectives from industry leaders, innovators, and the people at the forefront of deploying charging solutions and networks. Join us to explore the exciting developments that are accelerating our world towards sustainable mobility.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the ChargePoint podcast. I'm your host, Christophe. Today's episode is titled From Specs to Stories, How CPOs Can Win with Better Marketing. And I couldn't think of a better guest for it than Theo Reichgelt, founder of Nexxt Industry, a marketing agency fully focused on the e-mobility space. Theo has worked across the EV landscape from major players like Allego to fast-scaling software startups, helping them turn complex technical offerings into clear, compelling brands. Now, I have to say, as a marketer myself, this is a conversation I was particularly excited to have. Marketing in this space is anything but straightforward. It's not just about getting noticed, it's about making the complex feel simple, turning charging infrastructure into a story people actually care about. And Theo brings a wealth of insight into exactly how to do that. In this episode, we explore the unique challenge that ChargePoint operators face. How do you market a product that's highly technical, largely invisible to consumers, and often competing on location, price, or uptime? We break down the difference between B2C and B2B marketing for CPOs and why both matter, especially when you're trying to convince EV drivers and site hosts to choose you over the competition. Theo shares why branding isn't just logos and colors, but about building trust, recognition, and ease of use at the charge point itself, from the signage to the app to the payment experience. We also talk about how to move beyond the specs, how shouting 300 kilowatts or OCPP compliance rarely resonates, and what kind of storytelling actually does. Theo shares practical strategies for simplifying your messaging, educating new EV drivers, and adapting your pitch depending on your audience. So whether you're leading a marketing team, building out your first charging site, or just trying to make sure your product doesn't get lost in a crowded market, this episode will give you actionable insights to help you stand out. Let's get to it. And today in the hot seat, I have Theo from Nexxt Industry, owner and founder. Welcome in the hot seat of the ChargePoint podcast.
Hi, Chris. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you for making the time. We've been talking about that for a long time. And even before I made the episode 18 about branding and marketing, I really wanted to have you there. And we postponed, and now we're here finally. Super excited to have this conversation with you. As I've been following your work for some time, and I think you have a lot of things to share with the audience. So let's start, I'll go as always with a background, on all my guests. So please, can you start by giving us your kind of background story and that led you to founding Nexxt Industry?
Of course. First of all, again, thanks for having me. It's great to talk about marketing in our industry and to have a chat. So I started working in marketing about 20 years ago. I had a social media agency in the past. I worked as a freelancer for a while for some bigger brands to gain some experience there, like Uber and Signify. And at the end of that freelance journey, I worked for Allego. That's my first touch point with e-mobility, I would say, working with them in a pretty early stage, building the digital marketing team. And that also gave me the opportunity to start thinking about building an agency again. So it was just me freelancing, which was great. I learned a lot. It was a great team that we had at the time. But then Allego went through a big reorganization and they were not allowed to hire external support anymore, but they could outsource things to an agency. So for me, that was a great moment to start building an agency again. So I hired a team that they were not allowed to hire anymore. And that's the way we continued working together. So as an agency for a long time, it was just Allego and us and some very small projects on the side once in a while. Mm-hmm. But at some point I decided to, I saw the growth in e-mobility and I also saw that a lot of companies needed support on marketing. Because it's all like a very technical industry, as you know. Like I think FlexiCharge is a great example of a super technical product, which is actually really hard to market and to explain what it is that you do to an audience that is not aware about that yet. So that's why I started thinking, like, with the experience that we have built in the industry, working with companies like Allego, it would be worthwhile to fully focus on the e-mobility sector as an agency. And that's what we started doing about 3 years ago now. And it brought us a lot. So we work with all kinds of companies in the space, from the CPOs to OEMs to communication technology that is out there. Like we work with a software developer, all kinds of companies across Europe. We have a client in New Zealand. We're also exploring the North American market. So it's a really exciting space to be in. And it's still a very young industry. So there's so much more to come. And that's why it's great to be in this space and to offer our knowledge to companies that need it and help them tell their story in a proper way and explain all these technicalities in an easy way to the end user that you're aiming at. So
absolutely, yeah.
That in short is how we started. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really interesting to see as an industry develops that you start to have those vertical specialized agencies that really understand the market. Yeah, that's I really like that and see that emergence. And would you say that you are dealing as well as B2B and B2C, or are you even stronger on B2C, helping CPOs to get to the end user, or what's your specialty, or what's?
No, both. So it's with CPOs, it's both B2B and B2C. Like they have their audience to find those locations that are relevant to build their charging stations, but they also obviously need to market their network to EV drivers. So that's the B2C part. So it's always a combination. But we also work with other companies in the industry, as mentioned, and that really depends on the type of company. Like we recently worked with a big OEM on a more B2C focused proposition, but we have other clients that are fully B2B. So it's we do both. And it's nice that we learned so much over the years doing this, like fully understanding these audiences. And sometimes we run into clients that focus on an audience that's also new to us. So that's really cool to work on these kind of projects because we can take our experience, what we've learned over time, work closely with the client on figuring out how to approach their specific target groups and build a strategy on that. And that's also how we learn every day. Like not everything is set in stone yet. There's a lot to discover and a lot to test. And it's how we work. So it's not one specific audience, but it's both, I would say. Yeah.
All right. Good to know. All right, but let's dive into it. So let's talk about brand strategy and differentiation. So how, according to you, should CPOs approach marketing and branding, right? Both about building trust with EV drivers and, again, the B2B. So let's talk about both sides, right, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so if you first of all, you always have the branding layer. Like it's pretty obvious if you're in marketing, but I also see that some companies are a little bit struggling with that. And I know that also the experience in the past that sometimes with CPOs, like people in marketing really have to fight for the budget and explain why this is important. And so I think it's good to go over this indeed. And it always starts with the branding. Like you need to build a proper brand that people can identify themselves with, that they will start recognizing in the market. Especially as a CPO, make sure that your chargers are branded properly, that you have signage in place at your locations so people recognize it and you can build like confidence so they will keep coming back. And this is a topic we can discuss in a bit more detail in a moment. But it all starts with branding. Then on top of that, you can build your performance layer. So you can really build marketing campaigns towards the different audiences that you have. And one important factor here is that you have a technical product that EV drivers have a hard time understanding what it is. And that's where I think the biggest change is needed to really explain your audiences what it is that you do. And for example, I see a lot of technicalities passing by. It's great that you have a 400 kilowatt or a megawatt charger, but what does that mean for the end user? Why is that relevant to me? If I drive a Tesla, I can charge up to like 130, 140 kilowatt. So why do I need that charger? So that's the kind of thing that you need to explain, and how fast it is, how easy it is to use, like all of that. So to me, it's all about stepping into the shoes of the end user, and in terms of CPO, that's the EV driver, and explain in an easy way what it is that you do and what you have to offer to the market, why they should come charge at your location and not at the competitor's location, what's your USP, what makes it unique, and what makes it easy and fun to use. That's a really big part of marketing. Mm-hmm. So that's one part. And the other part is there's a huge part of education that we need to do. Like marketing for CPOs is not only about marketing your product, but it's also about educating the audience. Like we're in a very young industry. There are many charging networks out there growing fast, but the end user, like we need to understand that there are a lot of EV drivers entering this space now. They don't care about all the technicalities. They don't want to know. They're not interested in that. They just want to know when to use which type of charger, what is the fastest one in their specific situation, like all of that. So there's a lot of education needed in the market. And that's also a role of a CPO, to educate these audiences and to be a part of that part of the business, right? So the education and turning the technical product into something that an end user, that is easy to understand for an end user. I think those are the biggest challenges, and those are the things that CPOs need to work on.
Yeah. Is there still some educational work to do to educate the site owners about the opportunity of, hosting charging stations?
Yes, absolutely. So that's the other part. If you think about B2B marketing, it really starts there, showing site owners what the benefit is of having chargers at your location, the additional revenue, like all of that is important to talk about, and to build that proposition around the value you have to offer to site owners. And if they already have a retail location on site, for example, there's so many benefits that you can talk about, and why it is relevant for them to host that charging location on their site.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll get to a point where it will be obvious, hopefully, that it's interesting to have charging stations.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
We should get
I remember this is one of the things we worked on a lot with Allego at the time, like convincing location owners to allow them to build a charging location on their site. And it was always about that, like the additional revenue, like the increase of traffic at your location, like all of that. But still, you could see that location owners didn't always fully understand that additional need. Like they might say, we already have a lot of traffic, so we don't need all that. Like maybe it's more from an ESG standpoint that they were interested to host a charging location. But those kind of conversations, we went in a lot. And that's also how we built a marketing plan on that, like campaigns targeting specific locations that they would like to build their locations at, and talking about these kind of points, and convincing location owners that it might be worth getting into a conversation about this. And once they do, they start seeing the relevance. And once the location is built and operational, they can also see the traffic coming in and the additional revenue. So then it becomes more interesting. But I think it's getting better over time, but in the beginning, it was really a hard sell because they were not aware about all of this and what was going on.
And maybe actually there is maybe a start to be a shift. Again, I'm not into this discussion because this is not our focus, but when you see the announcement about collaboration with real estate owners, that operator making a deal with that real estate owner or that shopping mall network, it feels like maybe it's, won't you say that maybe it's shifted to now a bit of a competition, to seduce kind of each other, right? So as a CPO, they are, all of the CPOs would like to get the great real estate from that real estate developer, right? So do you see that kind of like next level of trying to really seduce those landowners now? They understand why they should be there, but maybe it's a bit tougher because there's competition, and now you have to work a bit harder because they know they can pick another one.
Yes, I agree. I think it's turning around. And the good thing is that all of these location owners, they realize that they need to offer charging for EVs. And usually, I think the first thing you have to convince them that they are not doing it by themselves. So they actually need a CPO to build it for them, to run the location for them. Some office buildings, they just put some chargers in the ground and they do it on their own. So that's the first challenge that you have as a CPO. Like you say, Chris, there's competition now. So why should they work with you instead of the other brand? And that's also where the brand building becomes even more important.
Absolutely.
In the beginning, it has always been important, but sometimes you could see that with CPOs, they didn't really see that need. So we have a logo and that's fine. And
exactly,
that's all we
plugs and, a charge on the ground, it's plugs, it's electricity, right?
Exactly. And it's not like that anymore that you put a charger in the ground and they will come. Like they won't, because there are so many other locations they can choose for. So, you really need to build a trustworthy brand, need to build an experience that people come back to. And that's the biggest challenge, I would say, CPOs have at the moment. And it's indeed, like you said, not just B2C, but it's also in the B2B space. If you want to work more with location owners and big office operators, for example, then you have quite a challenge there. You really need to convince them to work with you. And it's the space is changing, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Before we continue with the show, I have to tell you about something important. Co-located batteries are suddenly everywhere in the CPO conversation, but most operators still struggle with the first big hurdle, how to actually connect and control them. This is exactly what we recently unpacked in our masterclass. How to solve the connect challenge, how to unlock real value stacking with peak shaving arbitrage, flexibility revenues, DNO curtailment, with concrete example from Recharge, Q8 and other CPOs already doing it. So sign up for the on-demand masterclass. You really don't want to miss this one. And now back to the show. So EV charging is often seen as a commodity. It maybe for the early adopters, well, it's changing, but it's a commodity. How do you create a brand preference and loyalty in a market where I guess many users just look for the nearest available charger? Though again, that's evolving, but let's assume it is for now.
Yeah, no, it's like that, and it's actually like we did research for a big European CPO recently, and it showed us a lot. Like this is one of the points of advice I would give any CPO. Like go talk to your users, go out there, talk to the EV drivers at your charging locations, visit some competitor locations, have a look at what they're doing, ask people why they come to charge there, because it will teach you the real needs of EV drivers. And for example, like the entire industry is talking about plug and charge and look how cool it is and we've implemented this, but does the end user really need that? Like they can swap their payment card. It doesn't matter. Like maybe they don't care. Maybe you should focus on something else. So it's really important to understand the needs of EV drivers. That's where it all starts. So once you've done that and you learned about that, you should build something that they actually need. Like people commonly like a roof over their head so they don't get wet if it rains or snows, or if it's warm in summer, that there's some shade there that you can make use of. They want amenities for sure. Like you want to get a cup of coffee or maybe a playground for your kids to play while your EV is charging, all of that. And so really look into the needs of those EV drivers and make sure that you offer those kind of amenities and that kind of functionality that they really need. But we can also see like it really starts with a proper experience. Like you want to plug in, you want to make sure that they have a good experience, they get the power that they're expecting, like all of that. So it needs to be a flawless experience. That's number one, because you can do you can add amenities, whatever you want, or do the marketing, whatever you want. But if the product is not good and if the experience is not good, then they won't come back. So that's number one.
Yeah, hence the focus on reliability and uptime, which everybody has in the industry right now, right? Of course, because if that's the first hygiene factor. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also important in brand building, because if they have a bad experience at one of your locations, they'll probably will never come to another location either. So you have to make sure that this is done properly, people have a good experience, and then you can build on top of that. And it seems like there's you might know the brand in the US, Iona, like they're building locations kind of similar to the gas stations that are out there, just replacing the gas pump with a charger basically. And then the store is there, the bathrooms are there, like there are a lot of amenities already at those locations. And I think it's a nice example of what we can learn from, because also in Europe, the gas stations are there. Those are the kind of amenities that people expect. You want to get a sandwich or a coffee and all those kind of things. And you can see more and more CPOs building those type of locations. And I think that's where it needs to go into, like especially with fast charging locations along the highway. Like you need those amenities and you need to have like all of that, what's already there at those gas station locations. So I think that's an interesting development, seeing that also the big brands are replacing some gas pumps with chargers now these days. So it becomes more of an energy hub. And I know that, for example, Total Energy already calls it that. And
absolutely.
That's what it goes into.
Circle K is also a great example.
Circle K, it's a good example. I think that's also where the future lies in terms of like highway locations. If you look at other types of locations, and I think that's the other thing that some CPOs are doing really well, look at where's the biggest need for your audience and look at locations where they would go anyway, like a shopping mall, a supermarket. Make sure that you have a charger there or multiple chargers, enough availability there that people can charge their vehicle in, say, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I think that's also a great use case. And you don't need a lot of amenities there specifically for charging because there's a shopping mall, there are amenities anyway. So for those type of locations, it's important that people will recognize your brand. They have a good experience there, so they'll keep coming back. And there are different needs at those kind of locations. So one of the things is also look into what the EV driver actually needs, go talk to your users, but also look at the different use cases. Like a highway location is completely different need compared to a shopping mall or AC chargers at a parking lot. Like there are different use cases, and make sure that you apply your marketing and your branding and all of the things you have to offer to that specific use case, because there are different needs and different use cases to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe in the future there will not be any of those stations, that we've seen somewhere, just 8 super fast charger, and then on a country on the field, right, on an open field, maybe not too far from the main roads, but it's like, okay, there's nothing to do here, right? So there might be a pressure here, and and I think also I agree with you, and that's why I think the petrol retailers are in a quite good positions because they got the location and the amenities, right?
For sure. Like people want to be in a location that's comfortable for them. Like you don't want to be at a very remote location without any lights there and any comfort. Like if you charge, you want some amenities and you want to feel comfortable and safe. And that's the kind of locations that you need to be building. And it needs much more than just a charger. And I think most CPOs are aware of that these days. But there's still a lot of work to be done, I would say.
Yeah. So let's dive a bit and talk about traditional marketing strategies. So do you think that, traditional marketing strategies like loyalty programs, advertising, partnership, do they work effectively in our EV charging space, or does it require a unique approach? Again, here, maybe from your research, you have some insight to share.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Like obviously a loyalty program would work well in e-mobility as well, like similar to other situations. But you can also be more creative and think about the actual needs of EV drivers. And we already talked a little bit about the education part. I think that's really something that needs more attention. So also as a CPO, if you educate the general public about EVs and about charging EVs and how easy it is, and you don't have to worry about range anymore because you can charge everywhere, like those kind of things. If you're very early on in the journey of those new EV drivers, if you can take a part of that, that's really interesting because you already start building trust in your brand because they learn from you. So as soon as they're out there in their EV and they recognize your brand, they'll go and charge there. Like that's, I think one of the important strategies is to build trust. And this is a very nice and easy way to build trust, to educate people in the that are actually using potential users of your locations. Let me put it that way. So traditional strategies, yes, they will work. You can do your advertising, you can set up loyalty programs, all of that. But there's also a layer you can add in that is really specific to the industry, making sure that you explain your technical product in a very easy to understand way. Make sure you educate the audience that will potentially use your chargers later on. All of that is important. And we're a young industry. And if people think positively about e-mobility, you also benefit as a CPO. If they think bad about it and they don't want to drive an EV, nobody's going to come and charge at your location. So I think this is something to remember. And I remember, like, I'm also working on a book on e-mobility marketing. And for example, I interviewed EV Box, like this is before they went out of business. But what they've done in the past really well is they created campaigns.
The DC business is still alive, right? For the audience, as you know. But the AC has been closed down. Yeah, sorry, continue.
Yes, exactly. So, but also for that DC, I think this is also relevant. But when they started out, like many years ago, one of the things they did really well is this kind of educational piece. Like they had a lot of information on their website about charging and about driving an EV and about range and all of that, because they understood that if they would be able to help and grow the industry, CPOs would need more charging stations from them. So this will benefit their revenue in the end. Like this is the way to think about it. Like on our website, we have the e-mobility framework there that you can use to identify the ecosystem. Like we call it the e-mobility ecosystem canvas. And this is a nice tool to help you understand the ecosystem that you're in. And I think this is relevant for a lot of companies in the e-mobility space, because by understanding who your partners are, who your peers are, you can either work together on a few things, especially on education and on growing the market together. And you can do some marketing together. There's a lot of potential there. And I can see that a lot of companies in the space are just trying to kind of figure it out on their own, while working together with your partners. That will teach you a lot. You can do things together. You can make sure that we all grow in this space, that we benefit from this growth together. And that's also something that in marketing, I think it's important to keep in mind, not just promoting your product, but be part of this industry. Make sure that you're part of growing this business and work closely together with your peers and all of that. And like podcasts like this one that you're running is also an important part of growing this industry together and sharing our experience, talking about how to do things. And we all need to learn. And also in marketing, like we've gained a lot of experience over the past, say, 8 to 10 years, but we don't know everything either. Like we learn every day working with our clients on new stuff. And it's great to share that with the people in the industry and we really grow together.
Yeah. And you mentioned when we're preparing, so are you working on some kind of community to regroup marketeers? Yeah.
Yes, we are. It's one of the things that, especially in marketing, it's super valuable if we are all coming together at some point, if we can share experiences, if we can think about like strategies together. So we're in the process of setting up an e-mobility marketing community. It's aiming at marketeers and founders in the e-mobility space to kind of come together to share experiences. We will have like monthly sessions with some experienced people to talk about how they do things, so we can learn from that. So we really want to bring people together, and in the end, like if you think about that, we will all benefit from that. So it's something we're working on, and we will be launching this at the ICNC this year, early September. So that's when it will be live, and when we will have some first activities in there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Looking forward, yeah. And so coming back to your point, reflection around sharing the burden of education. Yeah, I think, I don't see much. Yeah, it could be more collaboration even between EV charging, so CPO and the EV, the manufacturer, the OEMs, right? I mean, there is some deals we know that they tend to do some agreement where you buy this car X and then you get access to network Y. But and then there are also those industry organizations, right? What is called Charge Up or whatever it's called, Charge France started also some months ago. I mean, I would, I would agree with you. Yeah, why don't they go and try to make national campaigns where everybody chips in some money relative to one size or somehow or whatever, in a fair way. You're in, a ticket cost X, and then you're pushing, because if the cake grows, everybody grows, right? I mean, and especially at this stage, it's open. So
it's like that. Yeah, we try to take that initiative for a nationwide campaign or a European-wide campaign, evenly in the past. But it's really hard to make sure that companies will add some budget, will kind of open up their budgets for these kind of things. But I fully agree, this is something that will be so worthwhile, because everybody will benefit from that. And we're also here to kind of run those campaigns and to chip in and to do our part in all of this. And I think that's something that would be valuable for the near future. For sure. Yeah.
Are we entering a phase where there's a lot of activity on B2C now? It's getting the summer and the traffic is increasing, and people are moving south, north, northwest, and so on, right? Everywhere in Europe. Yeah. Do you see that cooking a bit?
Yes, for sure. And it's always nice to see in the summer. It happens every year. Like I'm in this industry now for 8 years, and every year in summer you see this happening. Like people also actually talking about taking their EVs from, I don't know, the Netherlands to Spain, for example, with a trailer and all of that. And they talk about the experience that they have. And the funny thing is that a couple of years ago, you always would see those messages like, for example, in France, it's really hard to charge and there are always issues and stuff. And last year you saw that, hey, it's very easy to drive from the Netherlands to Spain and we had a fun experience. We need to stop anyway, so we might as well charge our car. Like, it's not a problem for anyone. And it's nice to see those conversations happening over summer. And that's also something that I think CPOs could tap into really well. Like, talk about your network and where you can find your locations. And we've done that with Allego in the past, and it worked really well, like to kind of explore a couple of routes that people would take traveling from A to B, and where can you charge, how easy those
absolutely.
things.
Couldn't agree. That's we did the same at the Electromaps when I was earlier. Yeah, exactly. In the summertime, big summer campaigns, and showing the routes, what are the scenic routes where you combine the charging function with the pleasure, as you said. And maybe also the CPOs should think about more. We did a bit leveraging UGC, right? So user generated content. Have people share, with hashtags and share the experience, and it's it's also like I don't see that much, but maybe I'm not.
No, that's right. There's a big opportunity there, and we also ran a blog series that was also for Allego a couple of years ago. We invited a few people. We had like an electric motorcycle driver. They went to the Eiffel in Germany for holiday. They just kept a diary, and we published that online. It was really nice with some pictures and to show the experience that an electric motorcycle driver has. Like, it was really cool. And we had a couple of more of these people traveling to different locations and sharing their experience. And I think this is what also marketing should be about a bit more, like the real life experience. Like, we don't care about your 400 kilowatt charger. We want to know what the experience is and when to use it and how easy it is and how cool it is to drive an EV, because it's silent. It's a different experience. And I don't see many people talking about that besides the actual users. There's an opportunity there to tap into and to show that how it is. It's,
and not lately then early this week, we made a road trip on the Sunday where you went from Copenhagen to Gothenburg with my colleague Casper, and we created a small road trip video, which is available on our YouTube channel. It shows how pleasant it is and how easy it is. And the guys from Available also did a great road trip that can be followed on the LinkedIn, where they were checking and confirming that most of stations still not 100%, but are really delivering great experiences today, are reliable.
But that's the thing to share. Like, it's really cool that you made that video and that you shared it, because this is showing the market that it's easy, it's nice, you have a great experience, and I think that's something we need to do more. And there's one other topic you mentioned, like working with OEMs and with fleets. That's another big opportunity for CPOs. You see some of them, like Electra, for example, I think is a good example. They do this really well. Like, if you connect with OEMs, if you have those fleets where you can offer charging at your locations for a special rate or something like that, that will bring a huge demand to your charging station. So these fleet operators, it's very interesting to connect with them, to get some contracts out there, connecting those fleets with your charging locations. It's a big opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if we look a little bit ahead, I mean, we went back and forth between the past, the present, the future, but if we try to look a bit more ahead, so if you talk about the future of EV charging and branding, so do you foresee maybe major shifts or change in how the CPOs market their services, as we talked a bit, as more and more competitors enter the space?
Yeah, it's becoming pretty crowded, especially in some local markets. And like we talked about, EV drivers have options now. So you need to make sure that you stand out and they choose your charger instead of the competitor's charger. And I think that's where most marketing will be focused on in the near future. And I know that CPOs are thinking about loyalty, about how to make their product more unique and to focus on specific audiences or specific use cases. For example, there are also some CPOs that build in like advertising screens in their chargers, or like as a separate hardware on their locations. There's also a nice business case there. So there are a lot of things that you could do to increase your marketing and to improve the connection that you have with the EV driver. And I think that's mainly where it will be about. You need to make sure that you connect well, that people feel comfortable charging at your location, that they resonate with your brand and all the things that you do. And I think that's something that's going to change soon. It has to. I mean, you have to stand out somehow. And
yeah, exactly. So do you agree with me? I think there will be an emergence of really good marketeers because now it's time to get some really good marketeers on board, right? If you as a CPO don't have outstanding marketing, I think, you might, even if you now check the box of the hygiene level, everybody's going to be there very soon, and it's crowded. So again, it's going to get tough. So marketing really kicks in. Your branding, as you said, how do you appear recognizable? What do you stand for? How do you activate, grab user and maintain them? The fundamental of marketing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it all starts with talking to your users, right? To go back to our earlier discussion, like if you don't talk to them, you don't know what they need. So it's just your imagination and your experience, but it might be different to what they actually need. So start there, do the research. And it's really like we've done this, and I cannot share all the results, obviously, because we've done it for a CPO, but it will give you so much good insights that will help you figure this out. And that's something you need to start doing.
Absolutely,
and the other thing that might be interesting is to think about the app. Like a lot of CPOs, they started building their own app, but do you really need that app? What's the value of it? Like it can be useful, but that needs to be an additional value, both for you as an organization. Like the data part, of course, is interesting, but also for the end user. Like why would I install an app for a specific CPO if I already have an app that works everywhere? Like just to kind of summarize it. So
a credit card. Credit card, which I can just tap everywhere.
Yeah, even a debit card. Like it's so easy these days. Most CPOs, they offer direct payment. So just, tap your card and that's it. So, or your Apple Watch or whatever you prefer using. Yeah. Do you really need an MSP for that? Like, those kind of conversations are also happening. And it's something to think about.
I think in terms of loyalty, there are great things to do. I think we discussed already back then at Electromaps in 22 when we were working on the roadmap and the connection with the point of interest, right? Where you're going, as you said, the retailers, the amenities, the whatever, Burger King, McDonald's, shopping centers, and so on. There's some really great opportunities. And I heard lately of a CPO which started in France. I don't know how long, but it's starting to emerge. It's called Le Plein. And they do a lot around this. It's been started by actually, I think, a group of retailers and real estate owners. So really deeply connecting with the loyalty programs of the retailers which you are visiting, right? It makes an awful lot of sense. It's like the traveler cards for airlines, right? Where you get points at other shoppings and so on, right?
Yeah, but this is also where the ecosystem kicks in. If you're already working, if you're charging to a company that's also like, for example, we had with a client in the past, like they worked a lot with a brand that offers gas stations. So they were also actually swapping gas pumps with EV chargers, but also additionally building like a nice roof with chargers underneath it and all of that. But this company, they already had the stores, they had a loyalty program, all of that. So it's something you can tap into. So that would really be my advice to CPOs. Like think about that ecosystem, use our canvas, like it's there for free, you can use it, but think about like who you could work with that already has the things in place that you want to build to create that connection with the EV driver. And this is a good example that you made. Like there are already a lot of loyalty programs out there. So pick one, connect with that one.
Exactly, connect deeply. One of my advice would be work with a great agency. Could be Nexxt Industry, for example, or others emerging. But still, you have to recruit outstanding marketeer. And I would tap into FMCG, consumer goods experience, because this is what it is. As you say, research, understand, activation, retention, like the best who knows this category, right? Because this is what it is about now. It's not just show there, as you said, build it, put a sign, they will come. No.
Yes. And one important thing, Christophe, like either you work with us as an agency or with somebody that you're hiring permanently in your team, but look for experience, because if you don't have experience in this market, it's going to take you like 6 to 12 months to understand what it's about. And still then you don't know everybody and everything. Yeah. So it's always good to start building with experience and then turn that into your own permanent team later on. That
exactly. Great. Yeah, exactly. Great combo would be to have somebody from consumer goods really, really strong, and then work with an agency that can get them insight as you go. Absolutely have the combination. Yeah. But I think anyway, this industry, of course, that's what it needs. All right. Well, anything on the emerging market trends in the industry that you find particularly exciting or promising?
Well, I think it's what the things we talked about. I think it's quite exciting. Like we're in this space now. For the past couple of years, it was all about building locations, building, and now we're in the space that we need to increase utilization of those locations. Which there's very interesting marketing you can apply to that, and we need to build more trust with EV drivers. We need to build brand preference, like all the things we talked about. And I think that's pretty exciting because now we're at a whole other level than where we were a couple of years ago. Like you also said, you need different people, you need experience, like you really need to step up marketing. And it's very exciting, like where a few years ago you would put some charges in the ground and then you would hope that people would come. Now everybody knows that that's not going to happen anymore because people have options. So you need to stand out. And that's where the real marketing fun, I would say, begins. Like these are the cool campaigns to work on. And this is like the emerging trends that we see now in the space.
Yeah, exciting time, absolutely. Yeah.
And the other thing is like this is for CPOs, but like for people being in the e-mobility industry, and especially for us as marketeers, it's so nice to see that there are a lot of very interesting companies popping up, like on all kinds of different products. Like every transportation means is electrifying, from the boats to the cars to the trucks. Like there's a whole other market that's now also getting started, and that's also what it makes it really exciting. Like electrifying, like a boat, for example, is a completely different market and a different space to be in compared to cars or trucks. So it's so exciting to see what's happening, and also there, I think we can learn from each other, like connect with each other. People are always eager to share experiences, so why not do that? Like let's get together and learn and pick things up together and all like grow the industry together. I think that would be an important thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this announcement about the community in September, and we'll share in the show notes a link to your profile so people can connect with you on LinkedIn. And as a last word, any publication or podcast you'd like to recommend?
Well, maybe it's we're actually starting our own podcast series on e-mobility marketing, and we did one episode with our design team. We talked about branding and the need of design and the specifics of designing for e-mobility companies. So if this is something that's relevant to you, I would highly recommend to watch that episode. And as I said, we're in the process to recording more podcasts, and there'll be more soon. And on our website, for us as an agency, we also really try to educate the market. And there's a lot of information on our website. Like you can find these blueprints. You can also find a lot of relevant articles on our blog. So I would highly recommend to have a look and to read some of those articles. They give you a good understanding of what's happening in e-mobility. It's not just about marketing. It's also about, we have a series called Voices in E-Mobility. So we talk about people that are that have been in the industry for a long time, like what they're doing, what they've learned, like all of that. So there's a lot of information there that's interesting to have a look at. So please make use of that because it's there for you. And we also take part of this education, and
absolutely.
I think it's worthwhile having a look.
Sounds good. Theo, on that note, thank you very much for a nice chat. We could go on, and looking forward to continue the chat. Will you be in September at ICNC?
Yes, I'll be there. Yeah.
Then we'll see each other. That's great. Looking forward.
Definitely.
And wishing you...
Very nice, like you mentioned this, because we meet so many people online and like there's so many connections, but a lot of people you never meet face to face. And then events like the ICNC and the EVS and all of that, they're very interesting to meet.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's me too. Like I'm really looking forward to it.
There's a great, pun intended, energy in this industry, and it's just fantastic to meet people. We're all passionate and pioneers, so it's great to meet. Looking forward. Definitely. And thank you very much for now, and we'll be in touch. Take care.
Thanks, Christophe.
Thank you.
See you later.
And that was today's episode. I really hope this conversation gave you a fresh perspective on something that's often overlooked in our industry. Marketing isn't just a support function. It's become a strategic pillar for CPOs who want to stand out in a crowded and highly technical landscape. One of the core takeaways from Theo's insight is that branding doesn't start with a logo or tagline. It starts at the charge point itself. The experience an EV driver has when they pull up to your station, from signage to usability to reliability, that is your brand. And if that experience doesn't feel coherent, clear, and trustworthy, then no amount of marketing spend will fix it. We also dug into the trap many CPOs fall into, leaning too heavily on technical specs to define their value. A charger's power rating might be impressive internally, but if it doesn't translate into faster, easier, or more convenient charging for the driver, the story gets lost. Theo emphasized how important it is to shift focus from features to benefits, from specs to impact. Another point that stood out to me is how CPOs operate in this dual marketing world, balancing B2B and B2C communications. You're selling trust and performance to site owners while also trying to become the preferred network for EV drivers. That requires different language, different strategies, and a whole lot of clarity in your messaging. And then there's storytelling, arguably the biggest competitive lever most CPOs aren't using enough. In a market where everyone talks about speed, uptime, coverage, how do you communicate, how you show up, how you educate, how you differentiate can be the thing that sets you apart. Now, if you're looking to go even deeper into the topic of marketing in the CPO space, I strongly recommend checking out episode 18 of the podcast. In that one, I sat down with in-house marketeers working directly at CPOs, at PowerDot and Osprey Charging. It's a great companion piece to this episode, giving you a peek into the operational realities. Together, these two episodes give you both the inside and outside perspectives and a pretty complete picture of what modern marketing can look like in our industry. Thanks, as always, for listening to the ChargePoint podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share with your team, or forward it to someone in your network who's working in mobility. Don't forget to give it a 5-star rating if you like it. That helps us to get visibility. And we've got more exciting conversation coming up, and I can't wait to share them with you. Until next time, keep charging forward.